Live. We got our. Well, we are ready to mix it up, everybody. Thank you so much. It is a Thursday night in late January, and that means it is time for another Haunted Attraction Association mixer. We are live utilizing our new streaming setup. So once again, bear with us. We're still getting good at this. And tonight's topic is it's a pretty dynamic topic we have, actually. We're going to be doing a little bit of a round table. Talking about best practices in security for haunted attractions. This is a topic that honestly everybody thinks about, but we don't really focus on it as much. We focus on a lot of different things in the haunted attractions, but I feel like everybody out there, all the different attractions are kind of doing their own thing. And I bet there's a lot more crossover than we realize. Right now joining us, and we may have some more guests coming in, but right now joining us, we have our amazing production studio engineer extraordinaire, Brett Molitor. And joining us we're at 30 years, just shy of 30 years of security, haunted attraction security experience from Niles Scream Park. We have Will Trepanier. Will?
Hi, thanks for having me in. Yeah, I started at Niles Scream Park in 93. I started in security in 96 and took over as head of operations and security about 10, 12 years ago. So yeah, got a couple years in.
Excellent. And for those of you tuning in, Niles Scream Park is one of, if not one of the oldest haunted attractions in the country. They've been running since haunted attractions were haunted attractions. So a huge amount of history there. And then, of course, from that kind of history leads a lot of trial and error and a lot of, well, that didn't work moments that allow them to really refine what I'm sure is a fantastic security program out there. So tonight, and once again, like I said, we're expecting a few more people to jump in. Whether or not they hit here, we'll see. But we're going to go round table. And, I have Brad. I'm going to add Brad to the stage. I'm almost 100% sure that Brad is from Terror in the Corn. Hello, Brad. You are muted.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Brad, you are from Terror in the Corn, am I correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Welcome. So Mr. Brad Clark is also joining us from out in Colorado. And he is you are the head of security for Terror in the Corn?
Yes, sir.
Cool. How long have you been doing that?
2 years now.
Excellent.
There are 2 seasons.
We count them as years. The haunt industry, it's years. And then, of course, for anybody who's just tuning in and doesn't know who I am, my name is Jim Werner. I am the incoming president for the Haunted Attraction Association. I am the maitre d' of the mixer, and I am the operations manager for Pennhurst Asylum in Pennsylvania, where I have been working on security and operational stuff for 12 years now. Before that, I was just your average jump out in the dark, scary boo guy. So I've climbed the ladder a bit. And tonight we're talking a very serious topic, and I'll make it light and we'll have fun with it, but it is a very serious topic. And that topic is best practices in haunt security. One of the things that the board has kind of batted back and forth is a need for possibly some better outlines on what makes up a good security program at your haunted attraction. And I say your haunted attraction because they're all different. Let's be honest here. From size to attendance to the show quality and what you're doing and how you're doing it, there's so many objectively unique things about most haunted attractions that really lends itself to a very unique approach to security in a lot of cases. So obviously, one of the things that some of our smaller haunts, some of our home haunts, they might say, well, hey guys, that's not really something we do. And to that, I always reply with the, well, who does stuff when something goes wrong? You know, I have a huge amount of respect for home haunt. I started as a home haunt, and if you're going to invite people, you open yourself up to that risk of maybe the wrong person, or maybe that's the right person, but they don't know your rules. Or maybe it's the right person and they don't understand what's going on and they're more afraid or they're more anxious than what they would normally experience. So when we're talking security, it really is an industry-wide issue. This isn't just for hayrides. It's not just for walkthroughs and trails and closed building haunts indoors. It's, you know, it really is the whole industry has to take a look at this on a very micro level. Like, what does your haunt need? I'm going to open it up to our panel here, our roundtable, if you will. And would you guys like to share just your picture of your security at your haunt and why what you have put into place is you feel is the best practice for what you're doing?
Sure. You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, go at it.
So, you know, as somebody noted in the comments, we have a lot of ground to cover. So it's a little bit unique, I think, at our park. You know, covering 44 acres and 12 to 14 acres of parking alone is a challenge to cover. I think what we do works really well. All of our security people are really dubbed operations. We try and stay away from the term security to get away from that stigma. You know, we don't want people walking around with a puffed out chest. I'm security. You know, we want them interacting with people well and solving other problems, taking care of line control, emptying a trash can if they need, picking trash up off the ground, but ready to respond if we do have an issue. So, you know, mobility and flexibility, being able to get anywhere in the park very rapidly, but also working closely. You know, when we have an issue, I don't like to have 20 people standing around because that's a very aggressive stance for the park to have. It's very hard to de-escalate when you outnumber whoever you're working with by that large of a number. So, you know, a lot of coordination and advanced training and talking on how we're going to respond to different types of issues, how we're going to handle different types of issues, and focusing everything on de-escalation, you know, rather than, you know, solving it as a security problem. It's de-escalating the situation and trying to keep everybody happy. So that's kind of the principle that we've taken over the years.
Excellent. And that is going to be one of our $1 million words of the night is de-escalate. You can't realistically talk security and talk security, you know, standards without the foundational item being the idea that our job is to de-escalate. Our job is to take the stress out of the situation. Our job is to bring the situation down to a much more manageable level. Brad, you want to jump in? Tell us a little bit about your security program over there at the Terra and the Corn.
Well, we've only been at it for 2 years, and as everybody here well knows, it's hard to take a group of people and train them as to what the proper way is to deal with any type situation, considering the short time that you're open during the year. And most of the people that, I'll say over the half the people you draw in every year now, a lot of our people do come back. They have come back the last 2 years. They're expected to perform at level A, but they really haven't had the training experience that they need to do that. I've got 30 years in law enforcement, and, you know, you used to have a couple of years at least before you kick a guy loose on the street. Where here it's a different approach. We've taken, well, I think we've kind of started something where we are building a new organization. We've even wrote a handbook for our security people so they can carry it around with different procedures. We do training, constant training all the time. And it's an approach where it's got to be customer oriented. You're not gung ho, kick ass, take name kind of guy. You're here to help the customer, and we try to approach it that way. Make sure the customer gets what they need, but be ready to, just like you just said, you have to be there and ready to deal with this confrontational situation when you need to. So
Absolutely.
we enhanced our training the last 2 seasons I was there, and we have already started working on how we're going to enhance the training next season. So the new guys put them with the old guys, so they got a better way on how to handle the situation. When the customer comes in, you want to be just as happy when they leave as when they came in. And
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it's a totally different atmosphere. It's got to be approached in a totally different way. And you can't have some guy come there with a gung-ho, kick ass and take names kind of attitude and try to train these people to deal with these people, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But you've also got to be ready to take care of anything that comes at you, even if we want to watch, out for everything from a child abduction to a fight, whatever it may be. I don't know. I could sit here and tell you all night what we've tried to do and what we're trying to improve and what we're trying to make better.
Yeah.
From daily reports and just report numbers to camera systems, improving camera systems. It's a constant job.
Yeah.
And
that's a major point, because most haunted attractions spend all year building the show, building the sets, teaching actors, doing these different things to improve the quality and the value of their show. It's important that in those same strides, you are improving your operational capabilities and your security capabilities in stride with that. You build this amazing show and double your attendance. That's amazing. But if you didn't double your security response, you're in trouble. You may find yourself behind an 8 ball. I think one of the other things that you said about, you only have this small window to train and to get people situated and to move forward. I think that puts a highlight on how important it is that operators, managers, hiring coordinators are picking the correct people to fill your security roles. You want mild-tempered people. You want problem solvers. You want people that they don't have anything to prove. They're just there to keep people safe. Sorry, my dog is having a fit.
All right, while he's muted, I'll talk a little bit. I'll take over. I've got a one event haunt. We've got a small little Midway 2 area. We kind of set the stage for our customers by having our off-duty police officer park his car at the entrance to the Midway area, so people know there's somebody on staff from the police department, and that keeps a lot of problems away. We have somebody right after the ticket window do some wanding as part of our security staff, and then our officer actually stays by the front door and he interacts with the customers and stuff. And my guys handle stuff first, and if it gets to the point where we need to call the officer, we will and do. It's very rare that we do, but usually our guys will take it. And a lot of times it's just a matter of following, just being obvious that you're following a group. They've been acting goofy, and now all of a sudden there's somebody behind them following them, and they know what's going on, and they settle down. And so our group is a good core that we've had for a while, but we step up the game on an annual basis. And this last year, we added body cam, and we added also a security and a tech check through that Jim provided that we're going to make available at Transworld, actually, right, Jim? And it's really cool. It's just a form on your phone, go through and fill it out, and then afterwards go through and make sure that things are followed up on.
Yeah, it's a pre-inspection checklist. That's kind of a uniform blanket that shows that you, as the operator, have gone through and checked well, the things that you feel are important, boom, 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 before customers even get to you. So you've kind of verified the safety and security of the show.
Yeah.
Over at Pennhurst, we're a larger site. Once again, we're not 40 plus acres, but geographically, our site is large, and we do a large number of customers every year. And we are in a city demographic, even though our attraction is kind of rural. So we end up with a great mix. We pull from the Baltimore market, we pull from the Philadelphia market primarily, but we also even pull all the way from the New York market and the New Jersey markets. Like we have a huge span of people coming to our attraction. And with that, we have very dynamic shifts in the type of crowd that we have. Because of that, we actually have a zone model where I have security staff that are assigned to different zones. And then if there is a need, then the neighboring zones will supply additional personnel. And we actually mapped it out to be very similar to a precinct model for the police. It's a micro scale of what a police precinct model would look like, where, okay, we're overwhelmed. We're going to pull a couple officers from here and a couple officers from here, but we still have coverage out there. Because that's one thing we found that we fought battles on is multiple incidents. Something pops off, and then almost like clockwork, something else pops off somewhere else. And we found ourselves going sometimes 2 or 3 incidents down the pipe before we were, where we wanted to be with everything. So we developed a system to handle it. But once again, having your policies, having your procedures, knowing who goes where, whose job it is to do what is really important. Who and I know Brett said he has off-duty police officers. I have on-duty police officers on our site. Does anybody else have on-duty police?
We have on-duty police, or they're off-duty police officers. But what we've done, we're broke up into zones just like you are. And we have like 6 people in what we call our queue line before you even go into the haunt. You've got 2 off-duty police officers off to the side, and I've got 6 people approximately in the queue line. So the people, when they come in there, already know that you're staffed by security, and the security intermingles with the people as they're coming in. We do thousands of people a night because we're pretty big. And just try to get to mingle with them, let them know we're here. So that kind of helps a lot and tours a lot of issues in the haunt. And then we have a corn maze behind our haunt, so we have it all broke down into zones too, just like you do. So if we need help here, we can pull them over here or pull them over here. This is where you're going to be tonight. This is where you're going to be tonight. We even have to put somebody out in our parking lot on patrol starting this year because we got to put somebody out there. Well, we got them everywhere, so and if we need the off-duty officers, we just call them and they come. We even we have a paramedic on staff. So if we need them for what we call a code blue, it's just a medical issue, we can use them. So, but yeah, I like the zone area works, breaking it out in zones. We have a map. This is where you go. This is where we need you. And we have a map in our camera room too that tells on the wall, show you where everything is. So, anyways.
Hey, Jim, we got our first question, and you want to address that?
So I answered the question that Chuck posted about typical numbers for what security typically, and this is based off of security guard standards. You want 1 guard to every 75 to 150 people, depending on the crowd. That it really does depend on your crowd, because there's a big difference to a Girl Scout convention and a big giant rap concert. Like there's just differences. They're different crowds. Believe it or not, the Girl Scout convention is probably going to be the one that gets you in more trouble because those parents are just insane. One of the worst events that I ever did security for was insurance salesmen. It was a convention for insurance salesmen, and they were fighting like you wouldn't believe. And I've had large scale parties, just full on drinking parties, nightlife parties that went off without a hitch, no problems at all. But guard standards, if you're going to have a static crowd, you need to know what your static crowd is. Like we'll say, hey, I saw 5,000 people last Saturday night, but they weren't all there at once. You didn't have 5,000 people together. You had a long train of people spread around all over your property doing different things, involved in different stuff. And not all of them were on property at once. You know, they come, they go. So you need to kind of have a rough idea of how many people you actually have on site any given hour. And then based on that, that's about where you need to set your security standards on that 1 to 75 to 150 is where I'd about want to be. We have designated security personnel that are zoned out. We have on-duty police that are a response force for us. So they stay in a centrally located area, and then they are dispatched out when our security decides that we're not dealing with a customer who's not following the rules, we're dealing with a criminal. And then we let the police handle those issues. We probably get 4 to 5 police deployments every year, where we need police to come out and they need to address a person who has arrived and chosen to not be a customer, but has chosen to act in a criminal nature. But we also have a lot of security theater, and I call it security theater, but I believe in it. I truly believe that signage and, like Brett said, having the police car visible, having the police visible at the ticketing booth, signage, security. I like a low-key security, but I also want the customers to be able to identify who is who. You know, I very much like the idea that the customer says, that's somebody I can go talk to. So we try to make sure all of our staff is identifiable, whether it be in high-vis vests, security. A lot of our security wears these chest rigs because we deploy body cams. So they wear chest rigs. And it says security, got a little chest rig and holds their little flashlight. But it lets them, you know, be visible and be identifiable. And then our police, who we might not have the same cop every night, if they come into a situation where there's things happening, they know who our people are. There's no questions. You know, that's one of the Pennhurst people. We don't have to worry about them. How do you guys identify your security? Are they identified in some certain way?
So for us, we wear these orange hats. Anybody with an orange hat is who you can go to for help. So that's our security, as well as our medical, our first aid team. That's on this. So all the way in the parking lot, you'll start seeing people wearing orange hats. Anybody with an orange hat has a radio, and 80 of them can help you. We don't have anything in our park that says security, anything like that, because everybody kind of pulls double duty anyway. But like you, we like to be a little bit low key. You know, we have a reputation in the area that it's zero tolerance and you will get tossed. We do have police on site, but frankly, we only have to get them involved once or twice a year with anything. Our crowd is relatively tame, knock on wood. You know, but
all the wood. I'm going to go knock on wood for you.
Over the course of 30, 40 years, we've kind of set the reputation that, you know, we're not going to tolerate it.
Yeah.
You know, and we've gotten pretty good about the de-escalation. The camera system was huge. Putting a camera system in so we can show them, you know, hey, you've got nothing to stand on. Here's the video of you punching our worker. You got to go, you know. Or, hey, we were wrong. You didn't do anything. Here's some free tickets. You know, let me let me end your night on a positive experience. Camera system was absolutely huge in that.
Jim, we got another question there I've got on the screen.
Oh, all right. So Sandy is asking, when we're dealing, is there a specific wording to use when interacting with a situation or wording not to use? What are your guys' thoughts on verbiage and language when encountering customer incidents or problems?
If you talk to somebody the way that you want to be talked to, you're going to get a hell of a lot farther than if you have to treat him respectable and treat him like you want to be treated. Don't get aggressive. Don't approach them aggressively. You have to be, we used to call it verbal judo. And you just, if you treat somebody with respect and you listen when they have something to tell you and don't cut them off, be willing to listen also, you're really going to get a long way. It's just, you got to be willing to and adapt. You have to adapt, listen, and they have to understand that if you decide this is the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be too. But you have to understand.
Absolutely. And that's another $1 million term, by the way. and it's a foundational core principle to all security, verbal judo. You can look up YouTube videos to train your staff in the use of verbal judo. There's instructional videos, there's instructional clinics, and most of them are free. Verbal judo is such a big deal because it takes the stress out of the situation. Our goal is always that we just want the customer to be safe and get through our attraction in the way that we need them to go through the attraction. Because, you know, you can't have them walking through backwards. You can't have them climbing on the sets. Like there's certain things that have to be in place. We always go with the idea of everyone is a customer right up to the point where they're no longer a customer. A customer is somebody who may have a complaint. They may have a gripe. They might not be aware of your rules or standards. They may not have been paying attention when they walked past the sign that said they're not allowed to touch stuff. You give them the benefit of the doubt, you re-educate, and you make it a friendly and positive experience. And I've found that using verbal judo, even with those ultra negative encounters where I have one person who is just, they do not want to, you know, be part of the program, the group that they're with will start siding with me in that moment. And then their group is what peer pressures them into falling in line and just going through. And I've had that happen more times than I can count, where the group's like, he's not being unreasonable. He's just, you can't do that. Well, are we going to leave? And then the group's like calming them down and handling the situation for me. And it's like, well, that's fantastic. So how have you guys utilized, you know, in your own personal experience, any times that you've been able to just beat a situation using your words, using your verbal judo? Love to hear about it.
Words along with body language. Body language is as important as verbal language. Open stance, open welcoming, handshake, fist bump, high five, a wink. You know, little things that you can throw in. I like to take it to their level. You know, if I've got a group of young kids that are, you know, jiving with their street language, you know, I kind of match pace and match form with them. You know, I kind of integrate into their group as I'm talking and, you know, kind of nudge somebody and point at somebody else doing something. You know, a lot of the body language, a lot of the interaction with them, starting it out with a laugh. You know, pretend I'm breathing hard, like, all right, who made the fat guy run to get here? You know, starting it out, getting everybody laughing, and then figuring out what the situation is. You know, to me, my primary focus is de-escalation, understanding what happened, and then finding the right resolution for both the customer and the park. You know, and sometimes that means you got to go. Oftentimes, if you got to go, I'm giving you some tickets to come back another night, maybe when you're sober, maybe when you're having a better day. But, you know, for me, it's taking it to their level and having body language that expresses that I'm not the aggressor. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. Putting yourself in that position of I'm here to help. You know, it takes you out of the punitive corrective off. You know what I mean? You're not, and that's one thing I always point out to my security guys. You're not cops. You're not grabbing people, throwing them on the ground. Like, you are not police. And it's fun because we have former police officers, retired police officers, even active police officers who will jump on our security teams. And for my officers who are involved, they kind of really enjoy not having to be the guy that's got to be like, all right, on the ground. Like they play with it. They're actually some of the most friendly and you know, calming people that I have, because I think they just enjoy the no. If this goes that far, that guy's going to do it. I'm not on shift, you know, and I think they kind of like that. So that's a very, very neat thing that I've seen. How about you guys? Any bad experiences that you guys have toned down or broken out of just using your words?
I can sit here and tell you several incidents before you go in there and somebody, it seems like when you first get there, your customer's really pissed. And most of the time it's because they're pissed at whoever confronted them, because whoever that was that confronted them as far as a security person got in their face and basically was talking down to them and really giving them a hard time and was not trying to understand, didn't want to hear what they had to say. And I've walked in several times where they were ready to go to blows. And it's just like, hey, why don't you go over here and you come over here with me and let me listen to what you got to say and tell me what happened because I really want to hear it. And that's kind of you go from there, separate them, and then go over and open a line of communication. So and that'll begin to de-escalate it. And then eventually, I've seen it happen again and again and again. Not only in the haunt, but as an officer, where, like you said, the other people that are with him, like, come on, dude, the guy's right. This did happen. Maybe we should just pick up and get out of here. But that's happened a lot of times in my career where somebody's in their face like this, with their bullied up like this, and they just want to not listen to them. All they want to do is, for lack of better terms, kick ass, take names. And that's not the way you do it, man. You just go over here, calm down a little bit. Or maybe the customer pissed them off so bad that they were just ready to go to blows.
Yeah.
But you just separate them and talk to them. And like you said, body language is a big thing. If you're sitting here with your hands like this and ready to go, you got open hands, listen to them. But stay in your safe zone, dude. Stay in your safe zone.
Yeah.
You're just
Protect yourself. Keep yourself outside of their reach. You know.
That works. It just 99 and 9/10% of the time, de-escalating. Just take the time to talk to somebody, and you don't end up going to blows. You can resolve it one way or the other. It works.
Yeah. I have had situations where people were screaming, angry, ready to fight, just ready to just throw this. And I just started off with, tell me what's going on. And I'd let them, in their elevated, heightened sense, they would start this, that. And I'd say, I understand. And I would repeat it to them, but I would repeat it to them very quietly and very slowly. So what's going on is this guy was following you, and you believe he touched your buddy there and pushed him. Yeah, he bumped it, and then all of a sudden I keep repeating, and they just keep slowing and calming. And then next thing you know, I'm escorting them off the property, and they're thanking me. You know, like they're like, hey man, we really appreciate you hearing us out, and we understand you got to do your job. And I'm like, that's where I want to be. I want to be helpful and just doing my job, because people understand that. People can relate to that. You know, I'm not out here, and we don't want our crews, or you don't want your security people being out there, you know, being hard asses. You want them being customer service oriented people that can talk. That's important. You know, I always tell them, my hiring teams, I'm like, there is a time and a place for bouncers. I don't believe the haunted attraction is a place for bouncers. We need something more. We need something with a little more tact, you know, because we put people in an environment that is designed to increase their anxiety, to cause fear response, to cause fight or flight syndrome. So you might have somebody who on a normal day is a pretty decent person. And then you march them through their haunted house and they have a huge panic attack. And now they're whoa, you know, they're ready, they're hype. And you have to be able to bring them back down. So very, very good point there. I did see a question from Chris Patty about shifts and pay for police. And I will tell you that it depends. It really depends on off duty, on duty. I mean, you might get some. I had an off duty police chief working at our haunt as event staff and security for several years. He's a police chief. And he was paid what our event staff was paid. Like, he was just happy to be there. And then we have police that are paid substantially more for their presence. So it really does depend on that. But it all starts with a conversation with your local police department, your local sheriff's department. That's where it starts. It starts there.
Yeah, you have to know who to ask, because in the little town I was in, we were in the city, but we were supposed to ask the deputies to do the security. And in Fort Wayne, where I'm at, it's the city and not the county. So they've got an agreement amongst them of who handles what where, and they they have pretty much an agreed rate of what the officers are charging when they are the main security. And, and like you say, it's kind of high, but it's well worth it.
All right. We have a great question from Chuck Morrison, highlighting that there have been some gun-related incidents near their haunts, but I'm aware of some gun-related incidents as well. And he's asking, are wands enough, and should they look at investing towards walkthroughs? Are you gentlemen using walkthroughs or wands currently?
We're using primarily walkthroughs. We found that they're a lot more sensitive, and the way that they operate, where they tell you where on the body, you have them walk through with their hands up, and it tells you where on the body, so if it's a watch or where you need to look at it with wands. It's really made it better with a lot faster throughput. Two machines is faster throughput than 6 lanes of people with wands, and it takes half the staff to run it. I would like to go with walkthroughs.
I'm glad you got Bernie to spend the money.
Yeah, scary, isn't it?
Brad, what are you guys using for metal detection?
We're using strictly wands.
Nothing at all. The only thing we do have is they have a company up front that checks bags primarily for contraband and alcohol, but that's all they've got right now. Nothing as far as metal detection.
Gotcha. We at Pennhurst actually use a tiered system where we do walkthroughs, and then when the walkthrough tags someone, they're put into a wanding and search point. Now we actually built an entire key. Our entire security is under one large tent, and it's its own division for that part for entry security. We don't allow bags. You can't come in with a bag bigger than a women's clutch. We don't allow them. You're not allowed to. We got signs in the parking lot, don't bring your bags. Because we do get a lot of people trying to bring guns in. It's just, and I think it's not like criminals. They have a license to carry, they have concealed weapons permits. But our haunted house is no place for a firearm. Like, I don't care how well trained you are. Bringing a firearm in that situation is, to me, it's just not a good idea.
Or mace or a taser.
Yeah, mace, tasers, knives, any of these things could be. And here's the thing: everybody's well, I'm not going to use it. Yeah, but what if it's not? What if it's dislodged? You're in the dark. What if someone takes it from you? There's any number of things that can go wrong outside of our control. So we don't allow any of it. And we have a check system. Our PD will do a check system where if someone does have a handgun, they can go secure it in their vehicle, or we'll secure it. We have a safe box thing that tags, and because we get a ton of law enforcement that come through, and they don't like not having their gun on them. But we also have our chief of police for our locality is on site most nights, so he's there and he'll have a talk with them. But we want to make sure that people aren't getting inside with weapons. Because the majority of them, it may be innocuous and it may be a non-event, but all it ever will take is one time. So we adopted using the walkthroughs because they are very effective, and we still use the wands as secondary. And yeah, that's how we've done it. And we run, we'll have nights where we're north of 6,000 people a night. So wanding everybody would be a nightmare for us. So we do the walkthroughs and we calibrate them. We have people that know how to work on them. We know how people that know how to detect them. I'm going to post a little video link in our comments section here to YouTube on how to use handheld from Garrett, the correct procedures. About a 6-minute video, but it'll be in the comments. So if anybody wants to see it and wants to incorporate it, it's a good idea. So since we're talking about weapons now, what have you guys put in place for active threat, active shooter type of situations? How have you guys adapted to that reality?
So at Niles, we coordinated with our local police departments, multiple departments, because in a true live event, there's going to be a response coming from state, county, and a couple city polices. So, we've coordinated it. We've worked with some police consultants to help secure the property, to prevent somebody from coming in around our security controls. And we've planned. We've done active shooter training. We do fire drills. We have active conversations about if there is an active shooter event, how is everybody going to react? Where are we going to put all these people? We don't want all these people running towards the shooter, but we don't want them running in the middle of the freeway either. So active planning, figuring out exactly what we're going to do in that type of a situation. And as well as working with our local law enforcement and emergency responders for any type of a response. And honestly, we do the same thing with fire drills. We do the same thing for, severe weather events. If there's a tornado coming, we know what we're going to do in advance, things like that. So it's just one more emergency that we prepare for.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Brad, do you guys have any unique policies or procedures for active threat?
What is unique is we are dealing with two different entities, okay? We have Anderson Farms, which caters for the most part during the day to the families and the corn mazes and stuff. And everybody and I'm working the haunt, which deals with your crowd at night and in the evening. But whoever comes into the location has to go through Anderson Farms entrance first. So a lot of the things that I hear you saying we don't have in place. No, of course, we're going to work with the local agencies when it comes to active shooter response or any other type of emergency, fire, EMS, blah, blah, blah. But there's two different types of, it's the same organization, but you got a daytime activity and you got a nighttime activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything filters through that daytime that comes to our nighttime activity. So we don't have a lot of control that we'd like to have. Because like on the bag checks, we don't want nothing through the haunt anymore than a clutch. We don't want anything, but we have to deal with what they control up front. So
I get that.
Well,
sometimes you got to have those conversations though, and you got to point out hey, I know during the day this is moms and kids and family event, but at night we've got college drunks coming in and we've got these people coming in. Can we exercise a couple of extra things to just kind of,
we're starting to have these conversations where it was this past season. It was like an alcohol issue where they finally actually went ahead and posted no alcohol allowed. It was on the website. It was when they did the ticket sales, but they actually really started enforcing it. And they put people up front to check these bags and stuff because we were having a big issue with the alcohol in the haunt. They bring it in there and say, we're used to doing this. We got that all last season. We have zero tolerance on that anymore. Zero tolerance. I said, well, we always did this before. We could come in here and do it. I said, not no more.
Yeah, you get those customers that show up stone sober, and by the time they hit your first attraction, they are blackout drunk because they just took a whole handle of vodka or something.
But some of these things that I hear you guys talking about is stuff that I've only been there 2 seasons. So we are working our way down the avenue, for a lack of better terms. We're getting to the place we need to be because we realize, and the people that run this realize how big of an attraction this is getting to be.
Yeah.
And we started 2 years ago with 18 people in security, and next year we're going to hire about 45. That's how much it's grown and how much a need we have.
Yeah.
And we're putting special training and stuff in place, and stuff like you guys are talking about we haven't quite done yet. We are working towards that because you have to just talk to the owner and say, hey, we got to do this. We got to do this.
Excellent. Well, I will tell you, long-term planning, and once again, everybody starts somewhere. You have to you really need to start with the idea of what can we do to be a little safer? What can we do to be a little more proactive? But I will say, man, the implementation at our place, because we've always been a 40, 50, 60,000 a year type of haunt. The implementation of no bags and metal detectors completely changed the dynamic of how we had to do security, because we have a much higher belief that they are not carrying, they don't have weapons, you know what I mean? Like, because we catch them constantly. Hey, you can drop your knife off in this bin and pick it up on the way out, or you can put it back in your car, but you're not walking past here. And it's like this little knife, but we're catching them. And I think it's such a good place to start. And even with the handhelds and the wands, it's a good place to start, and they can work. They're just, and I'll be quite frank, they're just not as efficient. It doesn't mean they're not as good. Handheld wands and pats work. I've seen them work in the club environment for decades. They work really well, but a walkthrough is a much more efficient model, especially if you're doing larger numbers. So for some haunted attractions, one wand might be all they need, and they're good. Other attractions, they need to, walkthroughs and other things to handle the volume. But yeah, I'm a big fan of metal detectors and the walkthroughs. The walkthroughs to me are just like almost like magic. It's like, oh, what's in your pocket? And now I expect it to hit our industry eventually, especially at some of the larger. But you go to Hollywood Horror Nights, you're not walking through walkthrough metal detectors anymore. You're walking through full body scans that literally will pick up a weapon anywhere on you every time, like 99.9% accuracy every time. Most of the major amusement parks are shifting to that. Most of the major sporting events are switching to that. It's new technology. It's very expensive, but eventually I imagine that just like how the walkthrough metal detectors used to be an arm and a leg, and now they're a little more affordable, eventually we could see some of that type of stuff work its way down to us. So, all right, well, good talking so far. So we are at 9:46. We got the last little bit here.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
We started metal detecting 20 some years ago. It was after going to Transworld and seeing a booth that had a little display. It had a whole bunch of different weapons in it: brass knuckles, knives, chucks, guns. And the sign said, "This is what we found in our garbage cans before the wanding." And the wands they were selling wasn't a big part of what they were selling, but it was just something they were offering.
Yeah.
And we come home from that and said, we get a lot of people from out of town, from the little town we were in at the time. It's like, we're gonna start wanding. We started wanding immediately that year. And like you said, you get some people that, well, I'm an officer. Okay, that's fine, but you're off duty. So you need to get get your car, your weapon, take care of.
And you're about to enter a confusing, dynamic environment that is made to cause startle, scare, and like it's just, it's not the place. Yeah. It's not the place.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm moving on to the next big item is, and by the way, those hand wands, if you don't have them already, those hand wands are between $100 and $150 on Amazon for decent ones. So they're really not a break the bank item to start implementing those type of things. But the next phase of security is the eye in the sky cameras. Now I know there's a lot of specific things about location when it comes to cameras. Like in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, we can record audio and video, and we can just record. In Pennsylvania, we have to give notice, and it has to be a condition of them being on site that they know that they're being audio recorded. We can't just audio record. So we have big signs that say you are being a condition. It's on the tickets that a condition of purchasing this ticket is you're agreeing to audio and video recording. You are being audio and video. As soon as you get into our parking lot, you are being audio and video recorded. Because what we developed is we have our site cameras, but we also deployed body cams. So most of my security staff has body cams. My security kiosk that does the wanding and the walkthroughs and weapon detection, they have body cams. The response teams that I have body cams. So whenever there's an incident, we get the whole picture, and it's right there. That has helped de-escalate more than I can really explain. It's the weirdest thing in the world that you walk up on very angry people and they see that little blinky light on your chest and they just calm down. Like they do one of these. They just like disengage. And it's like, oh, okay. So this is a non-confrontational but and then it gives us the backing of no, this is what actually happened. This is how it happened. This is the progression of this incident. It's all recorded. It's all taken care of. How are you guys doing with cameras and recording and that kind of stuff?
We're primarily doing the eye in the sky. We have a couple of people who do wear a body cam. I don't wear a body cam, but I do have the flashlight cam that I try and keep on, and it will at least catch the audio part of the recording if I don't have it in my hand. As far as cameras up above, though, we're up to 96 cameras now across the property for this coming season, and they cover both rooms, any place people are interacting with actors, our gift shop. And any place that people congregate. So, it covers the midway, the queue lines, the security wanding area, where the people are checking the bags, it's pointing straight down, both so that you can see the bag and people are comfortable that nobody's stealing anything out of their bag. Everything's got an eye on it. And you're right. The cameras have been huge just in being able to show people, look, you're flat wrong. This is what you did. This is why you're going to have to leave. And it really helps if you're able to show them, look, you may not remember it, but you punched this guy in the face. You're going to go. Here's the proof. So yeah, cameras are invaluable.
Guys,
we have the eyes in the sky too. We got several cameras. We have 3 people that actually sit in the camera room with radio communication with the actors, security, and also this farm security. We call it farm security. It's on the other side. And then a lot of our guys also wear body cams too. And the body cams are amazing. I know that from my law enforcement years. They're awesome. You take that in, plug it in, and say, well, no, I didn't do that. Well, here, what's this? Look at this. Well, I guess so. I'm sorry. You guys have a nice day. But cameras are awesome. Love them. They're great. Lost
I
you.
think if you were talking, you're on mute, Jim.
Okay.
I was muted. Sorry.
Our camera usage, this year involved a body cam on one of the guys, and I'll probably buy another one we have 4 guys that are main action team, but we had a fire extinguisher go off this year, and my action team thought that it had fallen off the wall because maybe somebody bumped it, and we reviewed the video, and somebody walked. It was underneath the camera, so we don't know. We didn't have it on them, but they grabbed it, pulled the pin, shot the fire extinguisher off, and we had to shut the show down for a few minutes to get it ventilated out. But that had we known that, we would have stopped them coming out. But it gave us an indication that we had it in the wrong spot. We shouldn't have had it where they could see it coming in to the building from the door they did, coming in from an outdoor scene. So we are now moving it to right around the corner from where the door is. So they're not even ever going to see it because they're not going to be looking that direction. But our people will know it's there. And if you're leaving and need to have it, it's going to be there. So, but it showed us that we had a blind spot in our cameras. So we've got 40 some cameras in 11,000 square feet. So plus the outdoor scenes and stuff. So the cameras are well worth their money, the gold. They really are.
Oh yeah. The truth of the matter is you can go budget friendly and do body cams at $100 a pop, or you can go nuts and do a huge interactive DVR with AI and everything else. But at the end of the day, if you ever have to pull that footage for a legal or insurance reason, those cameras just paid for themselves. Can't stress that enough, especially if you're not at fault. the camera takes all the doubt away. The camera takes it from an insurance settlement to get out of this courtroom. Footage is everything. Mike was asking specifically, if you have a large property and you can't get 100% camera coverage, what areas do you prioritize? Well, for me, I say you want to prioritize choke points and high interaction points. Your stairways, your static queue lines. If you can get a big picture of a giant queue line, you want to kind of be watching the whole queue line at once. Anywhere where there's stairs or crossovers or transitions, or like high intensity where there's the potential for injury or startle scare punches. What do you guys think? What would you guys prioritize if you had a limited amount of cameras?
Yeah, I'm right with you on it. Both high risk and high contact areas. High risk for injury, and any place where an actor is at risk of being assaulted or injured by a patron. Any place where there's a lot of interactive activity between the patrons and the actors. It both protects the actors and the patrons. If a patron is making an accusation about your actor touched me inappropriately or something like that, you also have that type of evidence to protect yourself.
Excellent. And don't want to interrupt the conversation, but we want to start highlighting our vendors during these mixers. And eventually I will be able to start playing little snippets, like little commercials for them and stuff. But since I haven't figured that out yet, VFX, who is a consummate haunt vendor. I don't really think many in the industry haven't heard of VFX. They do some incredible things with their attack puppets and their lunging line boxes and their crate creatures. They, special mention today, reached out. We were going to play their video for them. I can't get it to work because I'm not computerly literate. But they gave us a code, and they have a code that's BEST25, capital BEST 25, and that's $200 off any attack puppet, lunging line box, or crate creature. And that's a pretty significant discount on those items. So yeah, check them out, check out VFX. And if you are a vendor member and are interested, if you send me a file of a 30-second commercial, I will happily play it for our vendor members here on the mixer, because we want to make sure that we're talking to you guys. So I'm going to post this. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left here. Gentlemen, is there any pressing things you'd love to just get out there in the open of what you feel that could benefit people developing their security programs or refining their security programs? Any sage words of advice?
Just keep an open mind and listen, because there's a lot of people out there with a lot more knowledge than what you've got. So just always keep an open mind.
We always make sure that as part of our orientation of our staff, make sure they understand that they're the actors. They're not the action team. They're not security. They're not the police. And if they have any issues, let us know, and then just step back and we'll take care of it, because we don't want an actor to get in trouble. We don't want the customers to act inappropriately, and so we make sure that they understand the protocol, as well as who dials 911. I mean, my officer last year called me from the front, and he's got a radio. He could have done it over the radio, but he called me and said, I have a girl in seizure. We need 911. And then because that's our protocol. And we went out from there. So everybody needs to know, what the whole system is, from the actors all the way up to the security staff.
Awesome.
And I think Brad said it the best. Go into every situation with an open mind. Don't walk in with the solution already decided. Don't walk in that you're going to kick this person out. Walk in with an open mind, de-escalate the situation, and find the right solution for every situation. Gives you a better reputation in your community. It gives you happier customers. And frankly, it prevents the bad reviews on Google.
Absolutely.
Which is, let's be frank, that's important.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I learned, I spent 25 years in the emergency services before I retired. And we spent a lot of time in the emergency services building protocols and standards, guidelines, And I find that one of the most important things, especially in regards to security, where you're going into a potentially hostile situation, is no matter what you set your standards at, view them as guidelines. They have to be malleable. They have to be fluid. You have to be able to trust your crew to adapt to a situation to be successful. We may say, oh, if this happens, we're going to do XYZ, but on this night, XYZ would be the worst possible thing we can do. And you want to make sure you build a team that is capable of recognizing that situation and then making the best judgment call in that. So when you're building your security team, trust your people, but pick the right people to trust. Make sure you're building a strong team.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. Everything is not black and white. It is not. Everything is different. Every situation is different. Nothing is just straight black and white.
Yep. So, well, that is our January mixer. Next month, very exciting. We're going to be doing our HAA, Haunted Attraction Association Transworld pre-show. We're going to be talking about the Oscars. We're going to be talking about the state of the industry. We're going to be talking about the auction and our amazing new and expanded booth. So we hope you guys will join us on the eve of Transworld for next month's mixer with a whole new host of guests to talk about different things. Will, Brad, I want to thank you guys so much for spending some time with us tonight. Once again, it's wonderful to meet everybody, all the different faces of our industry, and having gentlemen that have dedicated themselves to the safety and security of their attractions. That speaks volumes to you guys, because it takes a special person to devote themselves to the safety side of things. It's so much more fun to jump out and scream at people. You know what I mean? The safety side of things and the security side of things can be kind of boring, and it can be kind of rigid, and it's sometimes nowhere near as fun as jumping out and screaming at people. But it is a necessary part of our industry. So on behalf of the Haunted Attraction Association, thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Any final words?
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
And then, as always, our production crew team, the best boy, the dolly grip operator, the camera operator, the IT professional, Brett Molitor. Thank you again for helping produce tonight's program. And thank you all out there watching. We do appreciate all of you, and hope to see you next month. And then, of course, hope to see you at Transworld. And with that, stay
34
safe.
days.
Good night. Yep.
All right.
All right. Cool.
I started recording a few minutes after we got into it.